Right, here we go. London Secretary of State, London Rail Minister, London Investment. Well, is that the story? It's good that DLR extension happening. Bakerloo line extension should be happening. London should be having more projects happening. The thing is, everywhere else is owed in excess of £5,000 per person outside of London, and that also needs to be happening. And, well, Coventry are extending its VLR trial, but they can't run any services on it. They're just building the tracks to have vehicles drive over. Why not? Devolution should be that devolved authorities can just do this stuff without asking permission at all. So Coventry are cracking on with this. I've shared my skepticism of this, but if it works, fine. There's lots of like game-changing statement. They keep saying things like game-changing about it, like talking about the fact it doesn't have ugly OLE above it. It's like, yeah, but the overheads is what make it cheap and light and effective and efficient. Lots of other discussion. The discussion of autonomy. It's like, well, it doesn't need. You don't need that. Like, it doesn't need to behave like that. Just build a tram. The tram is fine. The expensive thing is not the novel technology. The expensive thing is doing the infrastructure work. So anyway, but let's keep following this. Keep a close eye on this, as we always shall do. 8-month delay on cracking on with the study into connecting Tweedbank and Carlisle, following the old Waverley route. Borders completion. I mean, we've got to cover this in previous episodes. Just do it then. If it's a thing that should be done, do it. If you need to be asking permission to do it, we'll get to business cases momentarily, then you don't want to do it. Just say that. Don't waste millions and millions of pounds, in this case the best part of 10 million quid of taxpayers' money on finding a justification to say no. Just say you're not going to do it. Have the moral backbone to say no, that you're not going to do it, and then therefore potentially offer the opportunity for you to be voted out for someone who does want to do it to come in. This horrible technocratic, but the report said we can do it, not me, not my personal opinion, not my political opinion. Now, West Yorkshire Mass Transit. So there's a statement, an update on the 18th of December. Some people might have noticed I had a thing or two to say about it. Tom Forth also did. Quite a few others did. It got picked up by the Yorkshire Post and others. Lots of stuff behind the scenes on this one. But the key, you can have a read through the statement, but the key part of the statement was notes to editors, lots of little bits and pieces here, commitments of the 200 million, which is dates back from the IRP. We'll get to that in a second. Key thing, though, is that the start of services on phase 1 will now be in the late 2030s. Originally, it was going to be the early 2030s. So that's quite a substantial delay. I strongly believe that this is a de facto cancellation, but others have different opinions. Tracy Brabin strongly suggests otherwise, and we'll hear from her in a minute. But one of the things I wanted to cover is this little quote here from a really nice. There's a report a summary of the year that's been done by a friend of the show, Professor Ian Doherty, and it pulls out this point, benefit cost monster. I'm just going to read this little quote because I think it's interesting. Throughout the 25 years that we've been involved in researching, interrogating and trying to make sense of the way we do transport planning in Britain, one issue above all has reared its ugly head: how we do transport economic appraisal and the implications of this for investment decisions. To be blunt, and as we wrote in our book The Transport Debate, Britain's continued obsession with arcane econometric analysis in transport planning exemplifies the age-old problem of being precisely wrong rather than roughly right. Enables and legitimizes poor strategic decision-making and in too many cases condemns genuinely valuable projects to failure when confronted by organised political opposition. Really nice little paragraph there that summarizes lots of the problems. Being precisely wrong rather than roughly right. And that is what business case analysis for transport is all about. Getting a nice, precisely incorrect number rather than being broad and correct. It's a real mess. Anyone remember the IRP? I think I might have mentioned it on the show once or twice back in 2021. It did a few things. One of the things it did was cancel HS2 up to Leeds. And in its place, ostensibly, suggested that some absolutely trivial percentage of that might instead be spent on a mass transit system for Leeds and West Yorkshire, so Leeds trams. And there's the 200 million figure, by the way, that's still the same number being quoted now, despite some levels of inflation having happened since then. But anyway, so it's quite reasonable for people to be sceptical, given that they see what delay to projects looks like. It ends up with cancellation. It ends up with the betrayal by politicians and indeed civil servants and indeed Quango chairs of varying letters combined and assembled together, who I may be holding hostage behind me, making decrees based on nothing and based on what they've been kind of nudged to say anyway, or indeed what they think is the right thing to say to the politicians, deciding on what their career looks like in the future. And it's right that people up here are angry and cynical and jaded because they've seen it all before. I was 2 when the latest iteration of plans for Leeds Tram or let's put it this way, when the modern iteration of Leeds Tram was proposed, I was 2 years old. This announcement comes with my little one being 2 years old. So we're talking about generational delays in this project. And I think people in the north are quite reasonably angry about it, and cynical. Tracy Braben might have something else to say, though.
I did say there could potentially be bumps in the road, as there are in these big infrastructure projects, but rest assured, our commitment for the people of West Yorkshire is to get a mass transit system up and running by the end of the 2030s.
So that's Tracy Braben, that's what she thinks, and I really hope she's right. She has the potential for some political leverage here. There are opportunities for some wins here. She can apply pressure because of Rachel Reeves being a local MP here. She can apply pressure given the promises that have been made about Northern investment and what this looks like if it's cancelled. She has several pathways to applying pressure. I mean, if it was me, I'd have defected to the Greens instantly, or threatened to do so. Look, it'd be great to get Tracy on and to have a chat and see what her perception of this all is. There's a lot of really good stuff and aspiration happening within WICA. I'm extremely keen to see the bus network rolling out. It's happening too slowly for my liking, but that's not anyone who you can see on screen's fault necessarily. They'll get there, but there is a lot that could and should be happening. Essentially, what the situation we're in. Let me just briefly go big face. Actually, the challenge, what's actually happened, what materially happened, is that central government has undertook a kind of an assessment earlier in the year, an independent study, whatever that means, which looked at how the project was progressing, Leeds Trams, West Yorkshire Mass Transit was progressing, and decided that the process that West Yorkshire Combined Authority had been undertaking the early design and the business case development in parallel. So those two things happening in parallel to speed up project delivery. DFT has gone, you can't do that, and then said, so make sure that you put the design after the business case development, which is two things. Oh, also the development of the project potentially is going to get pulled down to be a central government project rather than a WICA project. This breaks all the stuff that the devolution agenda should be achieving, and it also is so frustrating because there is no need to develop a business case. You don't need it. Either you want to deliver this or you don't. The latest thing, of course, is that the business case might then say, well, buses are better. It's like, no, they have buses now and they don't work, and buses do not compare to trams. I ended up having a long chat on the old Twitter sphere with Gareth Corfield from the Telegraph, the transport correspondent, who suggested that buses would be fine. And I pointed out, no, buses have potentially a quarter of the capacity of a tram system. As soon as you match a tram system's level of capacity with buses, you wreck the roads. And then had a whole conversation about Docklands light railway, which, as all of you know, is not a light railway, and also there's no such thing as a light railway in the first place. Docklands light DLR is a metro system, and also discussion about, well, Docklands is all this density. Is like, not when they first built the DLR, it wasn't. It was a barren wasteland. So yeah, maybe actually, Leeds does deserve more than just buses. And it does. It's short and straightforward answer to that.